been through a weird kind of emotional journey this last month because I hadn't realised until I went to see Game Grumps. A friend of mine put it very, very succinctly when she talked about parasocial expectations. I didn't realise how badly I had parasocial expectations until I went to see Game Grumps. For like wanting to, you know, you have this vision in your head about like how much you want to like people and how much you might want them to like you as well. Especially with famous people, it's harder because they have so much to do that it's very very rare that you would ever actually get that opportunity. I think that's why reading up on people who had got that opportunity upset me so much, because it was like, well, I wanted that. The parasocial idea that I want to be friends with them, therefore I can be friends with them, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and it kind of escalates in your mind as to what's going to... You started building unrealistic ideas of what these people can and will do for you. There you go. You know, when you really care about someone, when you have an emotional investment in them, just as a creator or whatever, it's always going to be like, or even just like a nice person. When you don't have a rationality for what's going to happen, you're like, it's all at once going to be the absolute best and the absolute worst of what could ever possibly happen. All extremes exist at once in this kind of weird paradox of continuity. So for me, it was like wanting to give these plushies that I made for the Game Grumps to them directly was like, oh, you know, they're going to really like them, and I'm going to get to see them in person. I'm going to meet them somewhere, you know, maybe like downtown if they're getting lunch somewhere, and it would be really cool. What if that happened? And it's all completely hypothetical. But, you know, it turns from there is a possibility that this could happen to, yes, it's going to happen, and I want it to happen, and if it doesn't happen, I'm going to be very upset. And that's what I did, was kind of... You shit. I made this idealized story in my head of what I wanted to happen, and I knew that if it was going to happen, I was going to be very disappointed. And I was, because, you know, it's a lot to put on people who don't even know you. It's an awful lot of pressure to put on them, even, like, subconsciously, to be like, almost like they should be doing this for me. And they don't. You know, they don't have to. That's one of the hardest things to come to grips with, especially when you're neurodivergent, because you can sell yourself wholesale into these parasocial things very easily. And I'm feeling like, you know, the like, oh, I hate that sense of like, oh no, I'm gonna mess everything up completely. I also get that too. When you're online, so many interactions are like, you send a message and then you wait for the response. And when you kind of are used to catastrophizing or like preempting what a conversation is going to be like, then again, it can be the complete best and the complete worst of everything. I do that even in like, you know, like RP and even just like any kind of message. If I'm communicating with a commissionee, someone I've got art from, I'm like, hey, can we do this? And suddenly my expectation is like, I'm blocked, I can't talk to you anymore because I've done something wrong that I don't even know about. It's really hard to deal with an overactive imagination and having so many kind of like ambitions and ideas for what you want for yourself and how you want to present yourself to the people that you like, I guess, or want to like. And I know that is kind of it's probably one of the reasons why people have such big parasocial relationships with popular fursuiters and content creators, which I know is kind of a problem at the moment for certain things. Hey, Siska, thank you. Yay, welcome to Screamy Fox Game. I have died a lot. Come here. Come get me. Haha! Oh, did I kill you? No. Ah! Yeah, and I know that I've said the same thing about you shouldn't form parasocial relationships, but I am absolutely guilty of it, and partly as like a warning to myself not to place expectations on people who do not necessarily know me, don't have an investment in me, not through their own, not, you know, like, not like deliberately, but because they just, it's just one of those things, you know. There are many people in their lives that are going to be important to them that have to come first, themselves have to come first. So trying to curb my own expectations, and kind of a lot of those parasocial expectations come from a lack of like fulfillment in my own creative things. Like, I want to have this because this is failing, or I feel like my book isn't doing so well, or I'm lonely, or I'm like, I'm stagnating, or I have worked a 40-hour week and I don't want to do anything other than sit here and like talk to people and play games, or like, wouldn't it be cool if instead of having to work 40 hours in a warehouse where I have to hide so many aspects of who I am, if instead I could do this and talk to people that I really like and who like me all the time, you know. Both Red vs. Blue and Ruby were things that I very much enjoyed, and it makes me sad that that the company has treated not just trans folk, but people of color as well so badly that it just became like a white frat boys club, you know. Like, it was supposed to have been better than all the gamer culture, and instead it turns out it was the gamer culture that is like so toxic and bad, and that they made like performative statements against it without doing anything to change the internal culture, which then mirrored the community that they like. I don't know. It's yeah, unfortunately. Because and you know, as like a personal thing as well, I sent my first book to Jeff at Rooster Teeth, and you can see it, my book, in the Rooster Teeth, the AH Live documentary. So the fact that they put my book like visibly on camera, or that Jeff was at least reading it at one point, was like no one else, like, that I'm sent my book to a few celebrities because I am kind of dumb that way, but it's like, of all the people that I have actually sent it to, there was the only one to actually acknowledge its existence, which to me meant everything. And now to find out that Jeff has been this absolute dickbag to the people that worked there, to people like me, essentially, like Caden, who did not deserve the hate that she got for being trans, it's just like, and refused to do anything about it, and like explicitly said, I will not, you know. Jeff has said, yeah, I'm not a good person, but that's not an excuse. Like BoJack, you know, you can't just say you're a bad person and like play up to it. You have to not be, you just not have to do those things anymore. So I was like, well, crap. I have, of the people that I have like found comfort in from online YouTubers, like big fame, as opposed to just like furry artists who are amazing friends and wonderful and kind and queer and all these things. Like, I have Dan Avidan left, and that's it. Like, he has my book. Link. I sent it to Link, Rhett and Link as well, and obviously they don't care. But it's like, you know, Dan Avidan, because Last Unicorn fan, furry, very cool, wonderful music, good voice. I sent him my book because they're like, you might like it. I haven't heard anything, but it's like, I hope that he enjoyed it, even if he never acknowledges it. I hope that it give him a good read. Maybe he'll buy the rest, but it's like, he's also not on social media, so there's no, like, you know. And I made them plushies, and, you know, like, I don't know. I have a weird kind of parasocial relationship with all that. Oh yeah, actually, no, I did send all my books to Dominic Noble. Not because he had a policy of like, you can send me books, but I can't promise I'm going to do anything with them. I was like, that's fine. You're a Brit who actually, funnily enough, lived in North Carolina for a while. No. Was it born in North Carolina, lived in England? Anyway, he's in California now. So we have a lot that it was like, hey, you're really cool. So he also has a copy of my books, but he's so busy and does a lot of stuff with a lot of other really cool people. So, you know, I can't demand time from people who have not who have other commitments that they already like invested in for their own career. I'm never going to be like, you know, I'm never going to be like, you are obliged to me for something that I sent to you, because you can't just insert yourself into someone else's life like that, and especially when they have so much else to do that you already take pleasure from. I would love to have some kind of collaboration or like some acknowledgement from like Dan or Dom. That would be great, but I can't be. For them being good people, that's kind of enough that the world needs. I can't take time away from that for my own end. I don't want to be selfish. I don't want to be attention seeking, despite the fact that yes, I do desperately want success for my books, and with what is probably going to happen to Twitter, or what may happen with Twitter, I am very scared that my writing career effectively will be over because I do not have a platform anymore. So it's like that acknowledgement would be absolutely vital for me. But again, I can't demand it. I don't want to be the kind of person that stomps into someone and goes, hey, look, you must do this for me. Because why? Why should they? It's a oh, Siloop. It's one of those things I think about a lot. I daydream a lot about the kind of the kind of things that I could get to do if my books took off, or if I'm supposed to be doing I'm supposed to be writing a script adaptation for Legacy, and I've put it off because this year has been kind of chaotic. Which would help if I actually had something to pitch to networks to be like, hey, here's an animation that you could do, and it's furry, and yay. But it's I feel like it has to have some kind of background interest in order for people to invest in it first. Like, a book has to be usually a bestseller before it gets picked up. Otherwise, it's like, well, what is this? What's the appeal? What's the demand? How can you prove that this has an audience? And I'll go, nah. Yeah, you do your passion, but enjoy it regardless and hope for success. A musician may be in it for the music, but yeah, I do. I wrote the stories because I wrote the stories because I've answered the story to unlock this. Okay, cool. Yeah, I do love the stories, and I needed the stories, and I still need those stories to be in my life, and I need to see them completed. After that, I don't know. I do dream of all these things. Very much like daily, I dream of being able to make a success of these things, so I can create stories that will give other people hope and inspiration to write their stories, because I wrote these stories because I wanted to see stories in the world that nobody had written. I needed my stories to exist, and had they existed, I may not have been a writer, because I wouldn't have had a need for those stories, if that makes sense. But that goes to show that there is something missing in the world that we don't have. Those stories, those representation, this sense of optimism and hope and creativity, and even if it's just like a physical imagery of something furry. Definitively like, yes, this is not just an elf or a dwarf or a human. Or, I wrote a little bit about how I felt like a lot of what was probably missing when I was younger was queer representation, because a lot of it was just so like heteronormative. And yeah, I love your art so much, and I would love for it to be like you're sustaining, so I could see more of it. That's the thing. The passion I have for art and music and writing is not just for my own, but for I could help other people become successful with their stuff. Like, if I had success with writing, then I could be like, okay, cool. You do a book cover. I'm gonna put an art book together, and I want you to be in it. That would be great. What am I doing with this? Anyway, I'm kind of rambling. I'm not really playing the game much. Like when Nirvana got famous and Cobain listens to this band, yeah, exactly. That's what I want to have. I want to have that, like, you know, look at all these really cool people who've helped me get to where I am, or just help me be myself. I want them to keep helping me be myself, and it is kind of selfish in a way, because it's like, no, they're so cool, and I really fucking love them, and I want them to be successful so that I can still have those things in the world that have given me passion. And whether that's art or music or writing it or anything like that, or games, you know, where am I going? I'm going backwards, right?